Deep under the sands of Luxor, something strange was discovered, something that may have been hidden on purpose. Archaeologists found over 1,000 decorated stone blocks, all part of a broken temple. But this wasn't just any temple. It belonged to a woman who once ruled Egypt as Pharaoh. That was shocking on its own. Egypt's rulers were almost always men. So who was this powerful woman? And more importantly, why was her temple destroyed so badly? Her name was Hatshepsut, and for years, history almost forgot her. But now that her story is being uncovered, one thing is clear: someone didn't want us to remember her. And the question is, why? Hatshepsut wasn't just another royal figure. She ruled Egypt more than 3,000 years ago, during a time known as the 18th dynasty, around 1479 to 1458 B.C.E. Her rule was long, peaceful, and full of success. She led trade missions, ordered giant temples to be built, and kept Egypt rich and strong. But even with all those achievements, most people had never heard her name. Why? Because after she died, her story was nearly wiped from history. Only 3 other women in all of ancient Egypt ever became pharaoh. And after Hatshepsut, no woman would rule again for over 1,500 years, until Cleopatra. So how did a woman rise to power in a world ruled by men? And why did her name disappear for so long? The answers are just beginning to come to light. In ancient Egypt, the throne almost always passed from father to son. So when Pharaoh Thutmose I had a daughter Hatshepsut, she wasn't seen as the next ruler. She was royal, but not in line for the crown. Later, the king died, and his son, Thutmose II, became pharaoh. But his rule didn't last long. After his death, the crown went to his young son Thutmose III. There was just one problem. He was still a baby. That's when Hatshepsut stepped in. She was the boy's stepmother. And because he was too young to rule, she helped run the country as his advisor. At first, it seemed like a temporary solution. But after 7 years, everything changed. Hatshepsut did something no one expected. She took full control and declared herself Pharaoh of Egypt. This wasn't just a power move. It was history in the making. Becoming pharaoh wasn't simple, especially for a woman. Hatshepsut knew that if she wanted real power, she had to look the part. So she did something shocking. She dressed like a male king. She wore the royal kilt, the tall crown, and even the false beard that male pharaohs used. But she didn't hide who she was. In fact, her statues often used both male and female words. Some called her His Majesty, but also Daughter of Ra. It was her way of saying, yes, I'm a woman and I'm still your ruler. But just wearing royal clothes wasn't enough. Hatshepsut created a powerful story about her birth. She claimed the god Amen came to her mother in the form of her father and that she was a child of the gods. In temple carvings, she showed herself being chosen by the gods to rule Egypt. People believed that pharaohs were part god themselves. So, by saying she was born this way, Hatshepsut gave herself a divine right to the throne. She even took a new name. Makher, meaning truth, is the soul of the sun god. This name wasn't just fancy. It meant she was here to bring balance, order, and justice, the most sacred duties of any true pharaoh. She wasn't just pretending to be king. She became one. Once Hatshepsut became pharaoh, Egypt entered a time of peace and power. She didn't waste time showing what she could do. She ordered huge temples to be built across the country. Her most famous one, a massive, beautiful temple at Deir el-Bahari, carved into the cliffs near Luxor. It still stands today like a message from the past, saying, I was here. But she didn't stop there. Hatshepsut also built tall obelisks, giant stone towers made from single pieces of granite. One of them weighs over 320 tons and is still standing after more than 3,000 years. That's how serious she was about leaving. Her mark, she also did something rare. She expanded Egypt's trade. She sent ships on a long journey to a place called Punt Belif, to be modern-day Somalia or Eritrea. Her ships returned with gold, ivory, incense, and even exotic animals. It was the first big trade mission in Egypt's history. Thanks to her, Egypt became richer, stronger, and more connected with the outside world. She wasn't just building monuments, she was building an empire. For years, Hatshepsut ruled Egypt with strength and success. But after she died, everything changed. Her stepson, Thutmose III, the boy she once helped raise, took full control. And what he did next shocked historians. He tried to erase her from history. Tar statues were smashed. Her name was scratched off temple walls. Her achievements were given to other kings. It was as if she had never ruled at all. Why would he do that? Some say he wanted to take back his throne and didn't want people to remember that a woman ruled better than he did. Others think later rulers were uncomfortable with the idea of a female pharaoh and wanted to return to normal male rule. But the most powerful symbol of this erasure. Thutmose III built his own grand temple right next to hers, but made sure his was taller by 11 feet. That wasn't by accident, it was a message. He wanted to rise above her, even in death. But history doesn't always work the way people plan. Centuries passed. Hatshepsut's name was forgotten, until something strange happened in 2017. In Dahshur, Egypt, scientists discovered a sealed pyramid, something very rare. Most pyramids had already been opened or looted long ago. But this one was untouched, or so they thought. When the capstone was carefully removed, they expected to find a peaceful tomb. Instead, they found chaos. The inside had been broken into. Objects were scattered everywhere. Looked like someone had raided it, and then sealed it back up again. But hidden among the mess was a small chest. On it were damaged hieroglyphs. Using scanning tech, the team managed to read the name on the chest, and what they saw was shocking. It said, Princess Hatshepsut. But this wasn't the famous pharaoh. It was someone else. Another woman with the same name from an earlier time. 13th dynasty. Why was her tomb raided and sealed again? And why is there almost no record of her in Egyptian history? Was someone trying to hide her? Just like the other Hatshepsut, it left scientists with more questions than answers. Even after all the damage, Hatshepsut's story refused to stay buried. In the 1800s, archaeologists began finding clue statues, carvings, and temple pieces that didn't match the usual kings. Slowly, the truth came out. A woman had once ruled Egypt, and she had done it brilliantly. Her temple at Deir el-Bahari, though partly destroyed, still stands. Her obelisks still rise into the sky. Her trade missions and building projects changed Egypt forever, and piece by piece, her name returned. Scientists later found her burial site, but her body had been moved from its original place. It was a clear sign someone had tried to hide her final resting place, just like they tried to hide her life, but they failed. Today, Hatshepsut is known as one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. Her story was nearly lost, but it came back stronger than ever. She proved that even in a world built for men, a woman could rise, rule, and leave a legacy that no one could destroy. And if that story could be hidden for over 3,000 years, many more are still waiting to be found.